Just imagine we have x-axis and y-axis. Now we have independent variable and dependent variable. Remove this. Now you know what all dependent and independent variable are. If the value that you're providing is completely independent of any object, it's empty independent. And if the value it's dependent on any value that you're providing, it's dependent. So you can take an example of y is equal to fx. So f depending on the value of x that you provide, you'll get a corresponding value of y. It means x is an independent variable that you can provide any value of x, and on the basis of the value of x that you're providing, you'll get a value of y. So y is a dependent variable. So we have independent variables. And now what we try to do is, on the basis of the dependent and independent variable that we have, we try to fit all the points in a line, like y is equal to fx. We try to find that particular function f in regression. It can be anything. It can be x, it can be x squared, it can be 3x plus 2 or whatever. Now, how exactly you can find it? Now, we spoke about how exactly we can, we have to find a line. Now, how to find exactly that particular line? Before that, we have to talk about relation. Is it a positive relation or a negative relation? Now we can see the value of x is independent. It can range from it can range anywhere, and the value of y depends on the value of x, can also range anywhere in the x-axis. Now the condition comes, what if the value of x, when it's increasing, then the value of y is also increasing? It's a positive correlation that both are increasing both are increasing or both are decreasing together. So if you'll try to make a line on that particular case, you'll have you have a line which have a positive slope. You can see, if for a value of x, the value of y is also increasing, you'll get a line which is a positive slope. Some line like this. Hold on. Yeah, I am recording the session. Don't worry, I didn't forget this time. Okay. Sorry, I was just changing my chair. Now we'll go back to the class. Now, if the value of x is increasing, the value of y is increasing, we have a positive slope line. Now, what if the value of x is increasing and the value of y is decreasing? That's also a condition, that the value of x is increasing, the value of y is decreasing. So in that particular scenario, you get a negative slope line. You can see the line is completely negative. So if we try to find the slope, it's going to be negative. Now, just imagine we have a rough line like this. Now we have how to find the particular line. That particular thing is known as linear regression. Now, why do we use the word linear? That the line that you're gonna make is linear in shape. It's gonna be completely straight, and regression stands for it's gonna be continuous value. Now just imagine we have random observations. This is our training data, the data on which we're gonna train our data on. So we have random observations on the chart. Sorry. Now we try to find out the line which completely, or not completely, but tries to fit all the points. And you can see there is no straight line which can fit all the points. But what we try to do is to find the best fit line that has the least amount of error, because as we know, machine learning models cannot be completely accurate. So we have to find the best fit line. How to find exactly that best fit line? That's what we call a regression line also, using a method called least square method. Now what exactly least square method, we'll talk about a bit later. But just to give you a random rough idea what is least square method is, how exactly we find out the best the best fit line. We try to reduce the error that the line is providing. And how to find the exact error? Now just imagine we have this particular line, we have this line, as our best fit line. Just imagine that we have this best fit line. Now for this particular value of x, you can see here, the real answer is this real data set, as you can see. But what our line is telling is this, like this is a predicted value and this is the actual value. Now remember this particular two terms. For any value of x, the answer that we know is the actual value, and the answer that the model is telling is the predicted value. Now we can see for this value of x, the value of the actual value is this particular line, and the value which the model is turning is this particular point. Now the distance between the actual and the predictor value is known as errors. So what we're going to do, we have to try to find out all the points and their errors, and we try to minimize that particular error. Now how exactly you minimize that error, it's going to be a completely different topic of gradient descent, like how you just get the data and try to minimize it. So you can see all the points which you have the actual one, and the points which the line is telling, which is the predicted one. So distance between that will be your error. Now just imagine you take a condition like study time to grades. Now uh, as more the study time, the more the grade should increase. So it's not like always right, but taking an example, more the study time, more the grades should increase. So for this, you'll have a positive relationship, as we spoke about that. So for that, we have a condition of y hat, which is the estimated grades, which the machine will tell, which is equal to b0 plus b1x. Now this particular equation you can see is completely similar to the linear algebra that you studied, like which is y is equal to mx plus x. This is similar, y is equal to b0 plus b1x, which is b0 is equal to the coefficient, not the coefficient, what's that word? Intercept, and b1 is the slope of the line. Now x is the study time or the independent variable that we're providing. You can see b0 is the y-intercept and b1 is the slope of the line. Now what we're going to do, we have to try to find out this particular exact line, like what will be the value of b0 and b1. Now just imagine for a negative relationship, time on Facebook, more time on Facebook, less the grades. So we have a negative relationship. In negative relationship, we'll write the line similar, b0 minus b1x. Now why minus? Because the slope that you'll get in this particular line will be of the negative slope. b0 will be the similar as the y-intercept. What will happen to b1 is, b1 you'll get as a negative number because you have a negative relationship. Or if you try to find out the slope of this particular line, you'll have a negative slope. So this is the two cases that you can come across, either a negative relationship or a positive relationship. Now we know x is the independent variable and y is the dependent variable. And the independent variable you can control, you can manipulate, you can change, you can like literally do whatever you want with the independent variable. And depending on the independent variable, you'll get the dependent variable. Now we'll go across of how exactly to find out. Now taking this condition of study of and grades, we'll have taking the condition of study and grades, we'll have some, like we'll just have the training data set. At this time we're going to only see that we have only 5 training data set, which is only for the explaining purposes. When you're going to train your model, it's going to be, the model is going to be like 20,000, 30,000, can be in lakhs also, it's completely possible. So just imagine we have the independent variables 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the corresponding of independent variable x, we'll have the dependent variable 2, 4, 5, 4, 5, random numbers dependent on the variable x. Now what we're going to do, we're going to plot those points on the graph. Now for each point, you know what is the value of x and what is the value of y. They are the coordinates. So we'll just point each and every point. So for the second point, we'll have 2 and 4 as this coordinate. We'll get the third point, fourth point, fifth point, and all the points. Now we'll try to find out the mean of the independent variable, which is 3. We'll have a line on that. We'll try to find out dependent variable mean, 4. We'll have a line on that. Now we found out a particular point, which is the mean of all the values that we have. Now because this is a point, n number of lines can pass through it. But what we know, is that the best fit line will pakka pass through this thing. There's one rule that the best fit line will pass through the mean of all the points, either dependent and independent. Like the coordinates that you find out by finding the mean of x and y, the best fit line will pass through it. So we narrowed our findings, that which exact line, because before that any line can be best fit line, any random line. But now, even though for at a particular point infinite number of lines can pass through it, we narrowed down our search. Now for this particular point, the coordinates will be 3 to 4 because they are the mean. Now how exactly to find out those particular mean? To find out those particular mean, we have a formula. Now we take the value of let's go back to the point. Now from the mean of x, we try to find out the distance of each and every point and find the difference between their x coordinate. Like we have this particular points and we'll try to find out each and every point's distance from the mean of x. So that's exactly the distance because we are considering the equilibrium distance, so that's the distance. And for each and every point of the data set, we'll try to find out the distance between the mean of y. Now how exactly going to write? Now we'll have one more column which is x minus x naught. X stands for the dependent, like the points, actual point where the point exactly resides, and x naught stands for the mean. So we'll try to find out what exactly the number is. So for the first point will be 1 minus 3, it will be minus 2. For the second point, we'll have x as 2 and the mean will be minus 3, mean will be 3, similar. So we'll have minus 1. Now similarly, we're gonna have all the points. 3 minus 3 as 0, 4 minus 3 is gonna be 1, and 5 minus 3 gonna be 2. Now we found out x minus x bar, which is the mean. Now we're gonna do the same thing with y minus y bar. So we'll take the first condition, which is y is equal to 2. We'll take that point and we'll subtract it with the mean, which is 4. We'll get the value minus 2. Now for the second point, find out 4, minus 4 0. Similarly 5 minus 4 1, which will be 4 minus 4 0, 5 minus 4 1. We found out x minus x bar, y minus y bar. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold on for a moment. So we're gonna first now we're gonna find the value of b1. How to find the value of b1? Because what is our main goal is to try to find out what is the value of b0 and b1, because we're trying to find out this particular line. This particular line is nothing but the value of b0 and b1. We found out these 2 points, our work is done. Now what we do is we square the errors, like what I told you about the errors thing, that the distance between the actual point that you're trying, actual data, and the estimated one. This is the error. You can consider this an error. Now what we do is we take this particular column and we square it. You can see minus 2 square 4, minus 1 square 1, 0 square 0, 1 square 1, 2 square 4. So we have x minus x square, x minus x bar whole square. Now we'll have one more column which is x minus x naught and y minus y naught. Now we'll have multiply these 2 particular columns and we'll have the answer as 2 into minus 2 into minus 2 minus 4, minus 1 into 0 is going to be 0, 1 minus 0 is going to be 0, sorry 1 into 0 is going to be 0, 1 into 0 again is going to be 0, 2 into 1 is going to be 2. Now we have this particular point. Now we have a formula in coordinate geometry that if you have this particular columns, which is x minus x naught whole square and x minus x naught into y minus y naught, we can find the value of b1 or the slope of that line as, bring that b1 down, and the value of b1 will be summation of all the points of x minus x naught whole square and summation of all the points of x minus x naught into y minus y naught, and we take the value x minus x naught into y minus y naught divided by the value of x minus x naught whole square. We got a value of 0.6. So we got to know the value of b1 will be 0.6. So we got the slope of our line, which is 0.6. Simple. So how we got exactly this particular point? With the formula of x minus x naught into y minus y naught divided by x minus x naught whole square. This is the formula. And what we exactly divided? The summation of all the points. So we'll have a summation point on the starting of that. Now, what happens? We found out B1. Now we have to find out B naught. Now how to find out? We know that we have B1. We only want one exact value of y hat, which is the predicted value. Now, from today's class, everywhere you will see the symbol y hat. It means the predicted value. The answer that the model is predicting is known as y hat, or the predicted value. So we just need the proper value, like one particular coordinates from where the line passes. So we'll have the value of x and y. We also know the value of b1. So we'll find out the value of b0 because all the variables will be known. There will be only one unknown variable which can find out. So what we want is one point through which the line passes. And what we found out is the best fit line passes through the mean of the coordinates of the mean of x and y. It means the line passes through the coordinates of 3 and 4, which we'll see right now. We also we say that we saw that this particular point, which is the mean of x and y, passes through this line. So for y, it's going to be 4. B0 is equal to unknown. B1, we have 0.6. We took 0.6, and x will be 3. That the mean of x that we found out. Now we'll do all the mathematics. It's going to be completely simple. We'll have 4 is equal to b0 is going to be completely unknown. 1.6 into 3 is going to be plus 0.8. Now subtracting 0 minus 1.8 from both the sides, we have the answer of b0 as 2.2. Now what we have, both the points, we have b0 and we have b1. I'm going to show you the simple linear addition subtraction. So we got our answer, which y hat is equal to 2.2 plus 0.6x. So that's what exactly we wanted. This is how you do the linear regression. Now this is the mathematical thing. Now if you imagine what happens. So what happens is in this particular case, that's fine because we have only 5 points. So computation is not so hard. You can just write up a proper Python code for this also. It's not going to take that much amount of time. But what happens if we have data like 10,000, 20,000, maybe like 1 million data? What can you do with that? In that particular case, finding the mean of x and y, like finding the mean of 1 million data, trying to find the mean of 1 million data of y set, and x minus x naught again 1 million number of times, y minus y bar again 1 million times, x minus x squared again 1 million times, x minus x naught into y minus y naught again 1 million times, and then go through all the calculations. So it's going to be completely really hectic for your CPU to work on that amount of data. So what exactly because all the machine learning models have the model has been completely ready in Python. So what exactly that particular model uses, because this is how you do linear regression on a paper. Like this is a proper math behind it, but how to make it more accurate, or how to make it more fast, so that the resources that you have, the CPU that you have, can compute that much amount of data. So we have to find out some smart techniques. So I guess you all also, like everyone understood about this particular scenario, like how you find the linear regression. Now we'll go through one other topic which is known as gradient descent. This is how the the models of Python works, like how the model of Python works. So let me just have, we have one. Yeah. So we'll go through one of the Medium article which will get you all the answers. Now we're trying to find out the same thing. H naught x, it's gonna become, the representation is different, but it's completely separate. H naught of x is theta naught plus theta 1x. It's exactly similar to y hat is equal to y naught plus y1x. So what exactly we do? As I told you about the cost function. What exactly is a cost function? Now cost function They're like different kind. It's not even one cost function. There can be a number of cost functions. The mean squared error, root mean squared error. So we'll come across those two things, and then I'll tell you what exactly they are. So first we'll go through the mean squared error. So what exactly a mean squared error? Now, as the name suggests, mean squared and error. What we exactly do in mean squared error? And I told you how to find the error. The distance between the actual point and the predicted point is the error, is the exact error that you try to find out. So, and I told you y hat stands for predicted. So the distance between, or the difference between the actual one, which is yi, minus the predicted one, which is yi hat, is the error. Now what we do? Mean squared error. Now error has been found out by y naught, y minus y hat. What we're gonna do? Square. So we're gonna square it. So y minus y bar whole square. Now we're gonna mean it. Mean means get all the values. Like we can have number of data points. So for all the points we have this particular term, which is y minus y bar. We're gonna add each and every one of them and divide it by the number of observations that we have. Like we can take the condition of this particular point. For that we have what? 5 points. So the distance between x minus x naught and y minus y naught will have, wait, so the predicted value of this one, this is the exact value 24545. This is the actual value, and the predicted will be what answer that line will get. Like for putting the value of x is equal to 1, what answer you will get, that will be y hat. So distance of that will be the error. So in this particular case, just add each and every one of them, which is like five observations, and divided by 5. So you'll get the mean. We'll get the mean squared error. Simple. Now we adjust the equation to like tone down a bit, and why we do it is the numbers that you're using. The mean squared error can be anywhere ranging from 1, like ranging from 0 to infinity. You can get any kind of number in mean squared error. So you have to tone down a bit to have, because already we are playing working with so much amount of data. So we need to have, wherever we can do, we can reduce the number. So what we do is we bring the number a bit more closer to 1. So what we do, instead of dividing it by 1 of n, we divide it by 1 by 2m. Now here m also stands for the exact number of observations that you have. There's going to be n or m, it's going to be simple. So we just divided this particular term by 2. That's it. I guess looks like someone is really happy. Bro, can you? Good. Now we went through like what exactly is cost function. Now we're going to use this particular cost function to find the best fit line. And how to do it? To do that, what we exactly do is we make a line, not exactly a line, like a curve. Now how to find that particular curve? Because how to find the best fit line using the cost function is the line which will give you the least amount of cost or the least amount of error is the best fit line. This is a simple thing. Which will give you the best least error is the best fit line. Now what we do is let's get you into that graph. You will like get completely confused. Now you can see this particular point, this particular equation. You can see you have yi, which is the actual one, minus y hat. What is y hat? The predicted one. Now if you're going to take this predicted one, what is predicted one exactly? This particular line, this particular equation that you have, this is, which is 2 minus like any like b naught is equal to b1x whatever. So we can just substitute it here. I'm not exactly like explaining how exactly gradient descent work, because it's going to take me like hour and a half to explain. Like I'm just giving you a rough idea of how gradient descent works, because you're never going to do gradient descent on paper by yourself, because that's how gradient descent is there. So we're gonna just keep it there. So we'll have an equation which will have a quadratic equation, because y not sorry y hat sorry y and y hat will be 2 2 2 is 0.6 or whatever, depending upon the condition that you're using, and we are squaring it. So the equation that you will have will be a quadratic equation. For different points you have different values, so we'll have a quadratic equation. So we can see this particular quadratic equation. Just imagine this is a particular quadratic equation, and what exactly this line is telling you, what exactly this is giving you, this is giving you the cost. So all the points in this particular point is giving you the cost of different lines. Like for one line you got a cost this much, for one line you got a cost this much, or whatever. Now what exactly we do in gradient descent? In gradient descent, as the name suggests, we try to descend towards the least cost or the least error. And how to do that? You know, if we have a proper if we have a curved structure or any quadratic structure, if we find the derivative of that, what exactly the derivative gives you? The slope of the tangent. I guess you know that much about algebra, that if you do the derivation like d by dx, what we get exactly of a line's d by dx is, at that particular point, what is the slope of the tangent. Now we can see for this particular graph, this point will give you the least cost. You can see this is the global cost minimum. So we have to find out what is this point, where exactly this point reside, because we only have the graph. We took 1 or 2 points and we made the graph. We want to know where exactly this point resides. So for that, what we do is we just take an initial weight, a random one, and we try to find out what is the gradient of that, or what is the slope of that. We'll try to find out the slope, and slowly, like really slowly, we come down to the global cost minimum. Like we got the gradient, and now from the initial weight we subtract the gradient and then try to find out the slope again. So the next time we will try to find out the slope, the point will be here, so we'll have a bit lesser slope, and the next time you'll again subtract, so you'll have a bit lesser slope. So we'll try to find out till the point you have the least so you'll have the least slope. Or if you'll get to the global cost minimum, what will happen? Just imagine, if you reached here, what will happen? You'll have a exact straight line, and if there's a line which is parallel to the x-axis, the slope will be 0. So we are trying to find out the point where the slope of the tangent is 0. That's how gradient descent works. That we have a graph of the cost function, and slowly we try to descend towards the global cost minimum. I know, like, this gradient descent is a bit complex. So, and one more thing which is good for you is that you're never gonna do gradient descent on paper. What like how gradient descent work, you do not have to exactly know. But if you want to know, I'll forward you the videos of how exactly, what exact math goes behind gradient descent. I'll forward you the video. But it's upon you that you want to do it or not, because when you're gonna go and write the code, you do not have to do anything, all the things that I've explained, that finding the actual one, the like basic equation, finding the actual and predicted one, finding the mean squared error, plotting this graph, and then trying to do the gradient descent to find the best fit line, is done in exact 2 lines of code that you can write. There's no mathematics behind it. Writing this code of any programming, like code of any machine learning project, is no big deal. Only thing that you have to know is how, like, because why I'm explaining all the mathematics behind it, because anyone can tell you how to write a machine learning code or how to write a linear regression code. It's just exactly 2 lines of code, nothing else. But what exactly we want to know, how exactly it works, so that you can tell that, okay, in this particular scenario we can put this equation or put this particular algorithm. Because if you don't know, you have to go through each and every one of the cases, each and every one of the algorithm, and then you'll find out, okay, after going through all the algorithms, this is the best we got. But if you know the exact mathematics behind the code, you can just narrow down your choices to like 10% of what you're going to do if you have no idea how the code works. So I guess you know about like what is the background of linear regression is. Now we'll go through the code. like how to write the code. Now you'll find some stuff which is like you have to remember. Now, as I told you, NumPy and Pandas, we'll import NumPy and Pandas. They are the backbone of any machine learning problem. You're gonna see it in each and every of the machine learning algorithm. We use NumPy and Pandas. We use Matplotlib to just show the data. It's not necessary to have Matplotlib in machine learning or like in ML what linear regression model. You're just showing the data, like how exactly it looks. Whatever. Now we're using Seaborn also to show the data. We're not even using Seaborn, don't worry. Now, to find out how accurate a model is, to find the errors, you do not even have to go through each and like write a Python script which will go through each and every one's point and try to find the distance. There's literally inbuilt function for each and everything. Try to find out the mean squared error, there's a built-in function. Root mean squared error, there's a built-in function. What is the accuracy? There's a built-in function. Want the precision, there's a built-in function. You have the recall, there's a built-in function. Everything has a built-in function. So the only thing I have to know is how it works. How to execute it, it's going to be completely simple because there is literally built-in function for each and everything. Now, in sklearn, there's a model, sorry, there's a package which is known as sklearn. sklearn contains most of the machine learning model algorithms. You just have to write one line of code and it will get all the back code which needed for the machine learning model, and it will run on your code. You do not have to do anything. So the model is present there. So this is the sklearn library. So in sklearn library, we have a folder which is model selection. In model selection, we have a function which is known as string test split. We'll go through what exactly is string test split. And in sklearn.linear model, we have the linear regression model. Now in sklearn.matrices, we have the different error functions like root mean squared error or whatever. Now what we do is we download the CSV file. Now as I explained you, pd.read CSV will get you the data of all the CSV file that you're providing. So we took the weather.csv file and we saved it into a dataset. Now what exactly is a dataset? Like what exactly this dataset has? So it has the data of the weather, like for different days. What is the date, perception, wind gauge speed, maximum temperature, minimum temperature, mean temperature, like there are so many things. If we'll go down, but we'll see what exactly things are there. What things are there? So there are 11,000. Okay, there's like 1,19,040 rows. So as I told you, gonna go through all those scripts to 19,000 data, like 1,90,000 entries. It's gonna be like a hectic task for your CPU also. So you have 1,19,040 rows and 31 columns. So there are 31 different attributes which are there. Now, similar data set.shape will give you the data in the shape. Now, describe just to get to know what exactly data that you have. You have the count, mean, standard deviation, minimum, 25th percentile, 50th percentile, 75th percentile, maximum, just to get to know what exactly data it is. So currently it's not necessary because I know that we can apply linear regression in this because it's completely suitable for linear regression. But we do this data shape, the describe, or the information of the data set to find out which exactly machine learning model that you have to put. Because when you're going to work on the project or we're going to work as a real time in a company, they're not going to tell you that this particular machine learning model that you have to apply on. They'll give you the data set and you have to find out which will be the best one. So you have to see through the data like what exact data it can apply on. Now we'll plot the graph. Now what exactly out of all the points, we are just taking the maximum temperature and minimum temperature because we are showing the linear regression. So we have one independent variable and one dependent variable. There is one condition which is known as multiple linear regression, in which we have different values of x, like there will be one value of y which is the output, and on the basis that we have different values of x that the maximum temperature can relate to or can depend on minimum temperature, mean temperature, snowfall, like many attributes which is responsible for the output. But currently we are talking about only the simple integration which have only one value of x and one value of y. Tomorrow we'll go through multiple also, so don't worry about that. So we have max temperature and min temperature, and now you can like have a gut feeling that wherever you have more maximum temperature, the minimum temperature is also gonna be higher. If the maximum temperature is lower, the minimum temperature is also gonna be lower. That's similar thing. For a for a single day, how much is the maximum temperature? It depends on how much is the minimum temperature will be. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna plot the graph for x as minimum temperature and y as maximum temperature. We give the style as 0 or the O, the points, and we plot the data. We plot using the pyplot lib. Now we have the graph. Now you can see that this looks like a condition in which you can put the linear regression line, because for each and every value of minimum temperature, the maximum temperature is also increasing. When the minimum temperature is increasing, the maximum temperature is also increasing. There are some outliers, like you can see here. It's normal to have outliers. So this is what the data set look. Now what exactly we're going to do? We're going to take the minimum temperature and put it into a variable x, which will be our training data set. So we took the data set, we took the minimum values, and dot values do what? It's going to take the data from the data frame and going to convert it into a NumPy array. So data set of minimum temperature and convert it into the values. Now we have this particular data. Now what we did is the same thing, data set minimum dot values, and we kept y as the maximum temperature, which will be the predicted one. So the answer that you want to get, because what if we want what we are training our model to be is, we can put any minimum temperature and the model should get on the basis of the minimum temperature what will be the maximum temperature. So x will be the independent one and y will be the dependent one. And now there is one thing that we did, is this called as reshape. Now I told you about what is reshape. What reshape does is, it's just going to take the data set and going to reshape it into the way you want it to be, like what a number of rows and columns you want. Now you can see there's a one thing which I have never showed you, which is reshape of -1.1. Now what -1.1 is, we do not exactly need it, but one of the thing of machine learning models are, or any of the sklearn libraries machine learning models are, that they accept the data in a particular format. You cannot just provide any kind of data. You have to provide the data in a particular format for which they're acceptable. Just imagine you've made a function which will accept only float value. You cannot provide an integer value. You have to convert it into a float one. If it's written 20, you have to convert it into 20.0 somehow, so that the function should accept it. So that's some kind of same situation, that the machine learning model only takes a 2D data set. It's not going to accept a 1D data. And if it's a minimum temperature, it's a single column. So it's going to be a 1D data. So if you go and find the shape of this, go to the shape, you can see there are 11,000, like 1,19,040 rows and no columns. It means it's a 1D data. You want to give them a 2D data. And how to give them a 2D data? We just do a scaffolding, like a padding of a row. So we just write reshape of -1 to 1. What it's going to do is going to take your data. It's not going to change the format or just change the data. Just going to provide them with a single column, a single blank column. So now if you try to find out, like you can see the same line is written here, you try to find out the shape, you can see you have one column. So now you can consider this as a 2D data which has this much number of rows and one column. So this time it's a 2D diagram because you have column. Even though it's one column, there is a column. In this particular one, this is a 1D data because you have no column at all. Now in real world, having one column or having no column is similar, but in machine, having one column and having no column is different. So you have to provide the data with one column. Just show them that there's one column. If I'll show the data like here, so the line, you can see there is only one opening bracket and one closing bracket. So it's a 1D data. Now if I'll show you the data here, like what exactly after the reshape, you can see there's one opening bracket, two opening bracket and two closing bracket. It means a 2D data. Now the data set is exactly the same. You can see the data exactly the same, but it's now scaffolded into a 1D data, like a 2D diagram, 2D array. Now we did this for x and y both. We took the min temperature and the max temperature. Now we come through train test split. Now what we do is, all the data that you have, we're going to take some amount of data for the training and keep the rest amount of data as a testing, like to test how much our model has been, how much our model is accurate. Because to test the data, you should know like what is the exact answer. Because if you're checking a answer sheet, you should know what will the exact right answer is. Only that time you can just evaluate an answer sheet, that you know the answer. So out of the data, because out of all the data set that you know what is the minimum temperature and what is the maximum temperature. So we'll have a small portion of it as a testing data, that we're going to provide the data. Like we haven't trained the data on that, trained the model on that particular data set, on that particular columns. We just provide the minimum temperature and we'll tell the model to predict the value, and the prediction and we know the exact answer because it's in the training data set, so that we know the answer. The main data set that we use, we know the answer. So we'll compare what exact answer that the model gave compared to what is the actual answer. So we can get the answer, we can get the accuracy result, like what can you say, mean squared error, or root mean squared error, or accuracy, precision, or whatever. So what we did is we use train test split. So what train test split takes is the value of x, the independent variable, the value of y, the dependent variable, and we provide a proper attribute which is test size. So test size tells you out of the data that you're providing, the value of x and y, what percentage data you want it to keep it into the testing part. So we provided test size is 0.2. It means 20% of all the data will be saved and like kept aside. It will not, the model will not be trained on that particular 20% of the data, and it's going to kept aside, and the model has going to be only trained on the 80% remaining percent of the data. Now we provide random state as none. What the random state as none will do, because we can do one thing, like just copy all the data till you have what, where's the number, where's the number, you have 1,19,000. So you can just find what is 80% and just keep it like first, you can just keep like first lakh rows will train on first lakh, and the next 19,000 will not train on that. So even that's fine, but there can be chance like the data is clubbed together, like similar data are together. So what we do is we do random set as none. So what will it take? So it's gonna take random values, like it will take random in like random values from in between. Like it will take this row first, it will take fifth row, it will take sixth row, or any random rows, and it's going to keep it into the testing data, and it will leave the rest as the training data. So it will give you 4 output: x training, x testing, y training, and y testing. X training and x testing, they both are the similar things. It's gonna, for each and every value of x, you can see x training, x test, for each and every value of x, you have the value of y. So now if you'll see x and y, let me just execute this line. I'll execute this line and x train. You can see all the points of value of x. So corresponding to that, you can have the value of y. So for the value here, so for the value of x, you'll have the value of y. And the similar thing for x test. For all the testing values of x, you'll have the answer of y in the value of y of test. Now, we'll come till the time what we are doing, we're just making the data sure, like the data that we want, and making it compatible to the machine. Now we're gonna do the exact machine learning thing. Now we have the object which is linear regression, the package that we included. Now we're gonna make an object of that. Where is the? Now we're gonna make an object named as regressor, and we make an object of linear regression. So regressor is equal to linear regression. Now the model has been, like the model is ready. Now what we have to do is to provide the data. How to provide the data? We write regression.fit. We provide the data of x train and y train. What exactly this particular line is going to do? All the things that I've explained in the starting of the class, that taking the data, finding the errors, columns, finding the gradient descent, finding the best fit line. Finding the best fit line will be completed in this particular line. Now you can see all that 30 minutes that I explained, it's completely done by the machine. So You'll think that you don't need to know what exactly the things have been done, but you later will find out why exactly it's necessary to know what exactly is going on in the background. So all the things that the machine learning has to do is been done in this particular line. The model has been fitted and the model has been trained. Now you know the answer for machine learning, the answer of a linear data set, linear regression uh, will be a intercept and a coefficient. Now to find out what is the intercept that we got and what is the coefficient that we got, because y is equal to mx plus c, so we want to know what is the answer of m and c that we got. Now the objects are there. Regressor dot intercept underscore will give you the intercept value, and regressor dot coefficient underscore, like coef underscore, will give you the coefficient value. Now it means we got the intercept and the coefficient. It means the answer that the model gave you is y is equal to what is coefficient? Y is equal to 0.918x plus 10.711 something something. So we got the exact line. Now the model has been trained. Now the last thing that we have to do is predict how much accurate data we have. Now we have one more inbuilt function which is known as predict. What predict will do, it will take number of data, like you're providing the whole list of x values of x, and depending on each and every value of x, it's gonna return you a list having the corresponding value of y, what the model predicted. So we give them a name, y predicted. Okay, so what exactly the model did? So for all the value of x test, the model predicted the value and gave the data. Now we know the exact answer of x test has been saved in y test. What x test exact answer is there in y test, and x test predicted value is in y predict. Now we just show both the data, like the actual one, which is y test. You can ignore flatten here. Flatten I did only for, like, if there's a 2D data, it's gonna convert it into 1D data. So you can ignore flatten for now. I'll explain you later what is flatten. So y test and predicted is y predict. So you can see for each and every value of x which is present, the actual and the predicted value. And you can see the actual and predicted are quite similar. The actual is 29.44, the predicted is 29.07. The actual is 32.777, the predicted is 32.6 something. So it's kind of similar. Now using graph, we just showed what is the exact, like, instead of looking at the diagram, instead of looking at the data, we can just make the diagram. So we just plotted the graph which provides blue as the actual and yellow as the predicted one. So you can see all the lines are somewhat quite, like, there are small errors. You can see small errors are there. They should, if it's accurate, all both the lines are completely equal, but they are not because it's a model, so it cannot be completely accurate. Now this is the representation. Now we want to see the exact line, that what exact line the machine made. Now we just showed the line, and how we showed the line, we just took the point of y test. We just took the point of y test, provided the x test. So we made the scatter plot, x test and y test, and we made the color green. So this is the scatter plot of what exact data it is. Now we made one more plot, x test and y predict. So it gives a line. Now x test and y predict is also giving you points, but because it's a straight line equation, so it looks like a line. So this is the line that our model gave us as the best fit line. You can see that there are points which are outside this particular line, but considering this point, this particular line is the best fit line that you can get. As you can see, the answer that you got is not so far away from the actual one. There are like an error, a bit error, but it's fine. Now to see the error, like what exact error it is, you can find the mean absolute error, mean squared error that we spoke about right now, root mean squared error. So I'll just give you the rough idea of what is these all things. So mean squared error, we got to know. Difference, squared it, and finding the mean is the mean squared error. Now what if we don't do the squaring? We just keep the difference and find the mean. That's what they call mean absolute error. We don't do the squaring part. Now you can see mean squared error and root mean squared error have this kind of similar name. The only thing is root. So what we did, we find the root, we find the mean squared error, we just put under root, and we got the answer. So this is the root mean squared error. So how to find out? So there's inbuilt function for each and every one. Mean dot absolute error, mean underscore squared underscore error, np dot now root mean squared error doesn't have a inbuilt function. So what we do is we just take the same thing, mean squared error, and we use the np.sqrt. Np.sqrt just do the underscore function. So what we provided the testing part, like what is the exact answer and what is the predicted answer that we got. So for each and everything that you have to provide the exact answer and the predicted one. Actual and the predicted, you just to provide the data, and on the basis of that they'll find out the absolute error, squared error, and the root mean squared error. So you can see the absolute error is 3 point something, mean squared error is 17.5 or something, root mean squared error is 4. Every time you have to try to reach the answer 1. If the model is 100% accurate, you will find all the errors to be, sorry, for this you have to reduce the error to 0. Sorry, for one you have to do for R-square, we'll get later learn about R-square. So you have to reduce the error as much as you can. Make it 0, it means your model is completely 100% accurate, which is not possible. So if you find out your model is 100% accurate or the error is completely 0, it means your model is under overfitting. So you can see absolute error is 3, square error is like 17, the root mean squared is 4, so it's fine. You're getting a decent amount of accuracy. So this is what a simple linear regression it is. So I know this class took a bit longer. I want all of you, because I took this class really slow, so I want all of you to go through this thing, like this, because this is the first code that I've explained. Go through this thing, because later we're gonna go through like each and everything, like the model thingy, getting the models from the sklearn library, finding the describe, plotting the graph for that, reshaping, extend, train test split. It's gonna be completely similar for each and every code, exactly each and every code. And the only thing we're gonna change is, instead of linear regression, we're gonna write something else. So this is what today's class. So I guess things are like way too much for you till now. So I'll conclude the class here. Tomorrow we'll go through multiple linear regression also. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. How to import the data? Can we import directly from Excel? Can we copy paste? We don't copy paste the data, but a CSV file is kind of an Excel file only. So if you want to have an Excel file, you can do one thing: open the Excel file and save as a CSV. Or if you don't want, there's an inbuilt function, as I've shown you in this code. Where is .csv pd .read CSV. Now if we'll just push shift tab, just remove this line, but tab, let tab work, tab working. Sorry, read. Now you can see there are like so many things from which you can read. You can read CSV, you can read Excel file also, you can read anything, JSON, HTML, SQL, anything you can read. So it's completely depend upon what kind of data you have. It's completely fine. Sorry. Okay. So need to practice a lot. How to find the accuracy? So to find the accuracy, you have again an inbuilt function which is known as .score. We don't use .score in linear models, because most of the time the accuracy will be like 99 point something percent. So we go for errors, like what exactly errors you can find out, and what file should we enter into the current working directory. What, bro? I didn't understand. For importing the file. Change work directory. Don't chill, bro. You're not going through any Linux part. So if you want, if you want, where is the code? So if you're talking about this particular CSV file, I just gave CSV here because the same folder in which this particular file is there, the CSV file is also present there. So you can, as I explained to you again previously also, you can provide it anything here. You can provide the whole path, like C colon slash slash, the whole absolute path of the file, or you can provide the what, the HTML link which will download the file. You can provide anything here. So because if you will just see weather.csv is open, So you can see weather.csv is in the same folder. So we do not have to just give the whole path. We just give the relative path and it's opened here. Instead of random training and testing, we want to select a first. Okay, that's possible. We can do that. But there is a case when it happens. Just imagine we have a data set of 5 people. The data set of we have a data set of 10 people, and in which the first 5 are males and second 5 are females. Now the data set, it's completely fine. The data set has equal amount of data, but it's clubbed together. Like first 5 are males only and second 5 are females only. So we're gonna do the first 60. If you're trying not using train test split, what will happen is the model will train more on the male part. The model will train on all the 5 males and only 1 female. And when you're going to try to guess on the female part, there can be a chance like the females have a bit different characteristics as compared to males in any situation. So that can create us a problem. So what we do is we take random values, like we take row 1, we take row 3, we take row 4, we take row 7, and keep it as a testing data, and all the things as training. So that's why we use the training test split. But if you want to do, you can do it. Okay, but you want to do how to do it. Now, what you can do, where is it? Now, instead of writing this whole line train test split, you can see we have written x dot dataset minimum temperature. Now, instead of writing the minimum temperature, like we provide this particular value, we just give the number of rows we have, because you know the 60%. So we'll find out what is the 60% of, where is the code? What is the 60% of 11,904? You'll get a proper number like this much. So we're just gonna use dataset.ilog, because ilog stands for the indexing one. So dataset.ilog, give the proper number dot values. So it's going to take the first whatever number of rows that you provide and keep it into x, and the next one, the rest which is left will be in the testing dataset. So just have to do it like mathematically. If you, there's no inbuilt function for splitting equally. Like even after training and testing, there are cases in which you can have a clustering of data. For that, we use validation dataset, which I'll tell you later. But we generally don't use this first 60 and all. But if you want to do it, you can just write the exact value, what exact percentage that you want, and just put it into the dataset using the ilog function, and you want to extract the data. That completely depends on the how well you can use the NumPy algorithm. Sorry, NumPy functions. How to practice this algorithm? How you want to practice this algorithm? You just have, the only thing you have to do is you have to just know how exactly the algorithm works. You do not like take one simple example that I have explained, like the example that I have given you here. Just take this x value and y value and try to find out this one without even looking at the video. That's it. Because if you're gonna go and write the code, it's gonna be like 2 lines, as I showed you. All the things, all the whole video that I've shown you is completely done in what? Where is the line? This particular line did all the work that I've explained in 30 minutes. So you do not have to remember in Python for that. Yes, all the files will be shared. The Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook, and the dataset that I used, the weather dataset, will be shared. Don't worry. All the things that you'll see in the screen will be shared. Thank you. Anyone has any other questions? Okay, Vignesh is fine. Okay, Shankar is fine. Cool then. This concludes today's class. I know it's a bit big. From tomorrow it's gonna be simple because today I explained you the code for the first time. Next time you're gonna see the similar amount of code, like 50% of the code will be similar in all the codes that I'll show you from today. So no need to panic now. I just only want you to all go through this code at least once so that the next time when you see the same code, I don't have to explain it to you again and again. So just go through this code once, that's it. If you don't want to execute it, fine, just read the code, read through it. Python is like a readable code, read through it and understand what's going on. Okay, thank you guys, thanks for the class. Bye-bye. That's it. Stop sharing the screen.